thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on why they love being in Flagler County. Today, I'm super excited to have my guest, Anna, with me today. Anna, thank you so much for taking some time. I know you're super busy, so I really appreciate you blocking out this time for me today.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Miss Macy. I'm very excited.
Of course, thank you. So, just a quick introduction to Anna. I'll let her really introduce herself, but I know Anna through the Bold Ladies of Flagler, which is her group that she runs also with her sister, Alina, which is just a great networking group for women in the Flagler area. And I know they're expanding in different places as well. So, that's how we know each other. And she's always on fire. She's go, go, go. I see her on social media. She's doing something new every day, which is so cool. So, Anna, again, thank you for the time. I
Yeah.
would love for you to share a little bit. I think I know a little bit about the story, but you can tell me a little bit on how you came to Flagler. What brought you to Flagler?
Great question. Again, thank you. Great afternoon. So I grew up, first of all, starting from the very beginning, I was born and raised in New York. And my parents, probably when I was going to start junior high, moved to South Florida. So I'm a South Florida girl, grew up there, went to high school there, went to college there, and got married and had a whole life over there. And my husband is a retired firefighter. And we had actually come to Flagler years before we were even in the ballpark of retiring from the fire department he had 30 years in. We came up here and we literally fell in love with Flagler County. We really did our research. We went to different places and stayed there on weekends and things like that. And this place just kept calling our name, and it really felt like this would be our next home. And so when my husband Henry retired, we made a huge leap of faith and we sold everything with knowing nobody here, just him and I, and we moved to Flagler County. It's going to be 6 years, and really, it was the best move we've ever made. It's been so exciting.
That's so cool. Yeah, I remember you were telling, I think you were sharing a little bit about that at both ladies. I feel like that must have been such a huge, I mean, you guys really kind of eased into it when you were visiting Flagler so much, but it must have been still a huge change to go from like the big bustling city of
Yeah.
Miami and all the even the suburbs of Miami are crazy big coming up here to Flagler, especially 6 years ago. It was a little bit smaller than it is today, but still a little bit bigger than it was 20 years ago.
Absolutely. I think we were ready to slow down. I left
Mm,
Miami, moved to Fort Lauderdale. So we came from Fort Lauderdale, which is this,
mm, yeah.
and I enjoyed having like no traffic. I enjoyed being able to ride my bicycle, jogging, and have had my little doggy backpack, take him for a walk, go to the beach, all the things that I was taking for granted when I lived in Fort Lauderdale that I didn't get to do as much. That was super welcome. And I loved everything about it. We embraced it, and we kept saying, oh, we live in paradise, which we still say we live in paradise. It's what we always keep telling each other, that we are living in paradise.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, especially, I mean, I've driven a few times down there in Miami, and that traffic is no joke.
No, yeah,
It's only for the strong.
yeah. It's not for the weak at heart, for not for anything.
Oh gosh, no. I drove in like downtown Miami too, like a few times, and I was like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
my, the lanes disappearing, coming in and out. I was like,
Oh yeah.
Lord,
Yeah.
I'm done. This was a vacation for a reason.
You're on your own.
Yeah. Well, I would love for you to share a little bit. So you do a whole lot of things, but a lot of I think the main strand I found is you really love to help women, and that's really where your passion lies. And I can definitely see that. And I can see that in so many other women's, because today I had Gailey who goes to the Bold Ladies meetings, and she couldn't stop raving about those meetings and how much she loves it.
Oh,
And she's been in the community for over 20 years, but she
yes,
she loves you guys
she's
the most,
amazing.
which I think is awesome. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about some of the different businesses and the different ways that you help women, because there are just so many ways.
There is, and I have to start from the beginning though. When I moved here, I really found that I wasn't finding that community of women that I could connect with, because I was an image consultant, and selling clothing is very personal, makeup is very personal. So all those things did not really fit into the networking that I was going to. So
Mm,
I started this little community in my home around 5+ years ago. When I first moved here, I was a stylist with a company. So I would have the women come over and sit down, drink wine. Let's get together. How can we connect? And it was interesting because I really felt that I was making headway, like I was making those connections. Then of course that crazy situation with COVID hit,
Mm,
and there was nothing more to do after that. So I had to kind of shut down that whole aspect of being a personal stylist. I wasn't able to continue with that. And fast forward 6 months into COVID, my sister, Alina, moved here from Fort Lauderdale. She was a teacher. She retired after 30 years of being a teacher, but she was a photographer. She was inspired to do that as a retired business. And she said, let's try to do this again. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm so done here. Like I was not ready to take that task on. It was COVID. She said, well, let's try it and maybe somebody will show up. And so we created a Facebook group. We invited people we knew. We went out into the community, and we had on June 10th, I want to say it was almost 4 years ago, in the parking lot of Hooligans with our mask on outside, we had our first Bowl Ladies meeting. And I call them the OGs. They're still with us. A lot of them still are there with us. And the community just kept growing. I felt like, oh, wow. So there was definitely a need. Even we needed that connection to help women, whether it was an online business, whatever it was. For me, it was my makeup business, which is very personal, and lashes and things like that, which kind of boomed during the peak of COVID because people couldn't go and buy their makeup at the store because they threw
right.
away all the makeup and you couldn't even match it with somebody's foundation. So it was really weird. And clothing kind of took a back end, but people were buying a lot of sportswear and leggings and sweatshirts. And so that also kind of took off for me. So it was interesting. And we just kept growing. Our biggest accomplishment for me since I've been here in Flagler is to create a home where women can connect. I always say at a deeper level, a safe place where they can have a coffee connection where they can sit and talk with a girlfriend. It's so much more than networking. And we've expanded so much because it just keeps growing in the right direction. So we're very blessed, we're very fortunate, and I love making connections for women and helping them.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few bold ladies on the podcast as well, and they absolutely love it. Like Michelle was on here, and she's an amazing
Oh,
coffee. Like we had a coffee, and we completely bonded over so many. Like we're both
oh,
at like different stages in our lives, but
yeah,
like we still have so much in common,
that's
especially with
awesome.
even the future, which is it's so awesome to meet people like that.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
It's so great. And it's so great. How have you, I mean, starting in COVID was like pretty crazy. Even though down here I think COVID was a little bit different than it was. Like I was up north, I was in Michigan
Oh, great.
during COVID. So it was a little bit different
Oh,
compared.
yeah.
But how have you seen the growth of Bold Ladies and how has that like what have you learned from the growth of Bold Ladies?
Well, again, like I said, I felt that there was a huge need for connection. We navigated COVID. We
Mm,
always went to restaurants outside. So threefold. I always say this was a simple, it was to help a woman, empower them with their business, empower a local charity, which they needed to get their funding as well, especially during COVID, and then helping a local restaurant or an area where we could meet. And they welcomed us during COVID because a lot of people were not dining out and things, they were struggling. So for us to show up and drink and eat and enjoy their food and their space was a gift for them and for us as
yeah,
well because we wanted to get out.
yeah,
So I learned that we needed to have this. This was a big calling and it was a lot of work, but it was so worth it. We're strong in the Bow Ladies in Business. We're like 1,300 in our chapter here.
wow,
Yeah, we opened Volusia. It's not even been a year. They're like 800 strong. St.
whoa,
John, our neighbors, they're thriving over there. Duval is unbelievable. Love them. Marion County, amazing women. We went down to Broward, which that was my home, and my friends and my colleagues loved that we were able to start that chapter down there. And we are in the process of opening Orlando and Pinellas and Hillsborough County. They're going to
wow.
do the chapter together. So what I learned is that this was bigger than we ever expected. And we're blessed that there are women that are on this journey with us, that we empower women, we help them with their businesses. And for me, it's about giving back to the community. So I'm very blessed that that's something that we can align with.
Yeah, I love that. And I can tell that that's where the growth comes from is when you have the community mindset first and you just want to go
Yeah.
out there, you just want to help, especially, women, and that's where you just really want to give back. And I think that's where a lot of people find so much that they get back from
Yes.
how much they've given.
I think the minute that you take yourself out of the equation, you're going to receive the blessings. It's
Right.
going to happen. Like I've always told when the women would first come, I go, no, put those business cards away. Let's get to know each other better. Let's find out what can we help each other with. And you'll realize that there's so much more to the layers of you, or when you sit down with a girl and sit for coffee, then there's more that you can say, oh, I know where I can find somebody to help you, and I can do this, or I can host a party for you, or let's get together with this person. And then that becomes community. And once you have community, it all just comes together. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so beautiful to watch. Well, I think this is a great question to ask you, especially is what would you recommend for new people in the Flagler area to kind of get out there, get into the community, really interact with like their neighbors and get to know everyone?
That's a really good question. For myself, I didn't know anybody. So that was a great question. I didn't have my family here, I didn't have anybody. I went to the gym, and right there at the gym, that's a community as well. So I met a group of women there that they're still my dearest friends, and we do things together there. And then during COVID, beautiful group of women called the Ladies of Flagler County, they created a group which is never about networking. It's never about anything but making friends. And let's say that you wanted to do a tea party and you create an event there, and then you start to find your own tribe, your own women that you can start connecting with. Like we do beach day. I know Rochelle started that with Sue, and Mondays is beach day, and you can go to the beach, or you can go bowling, or you can have a book club, or so really getting out there and meeting other like-minded women. They did create a group that's for couples as well. If there are people that are married and say, well, that's for women, what about the men? Sometimes they create the events and men get to come. Sometimes they don't. But then when you branch out and meet other people, then like for me, the girls from the gym, now we do bowling together. We play pool with our spouses. We have Super Bowl parties. We have so it just escalates. So you have to really have to put yourself out there. And if you're painfully shy, it's okay, because there's going to be somebody that's going to be your person, that you'll find that perfect friend. They do holiday parties, and then if you're a business person, then of course you want to get into the bold ladies, because then you are
Right.
going to with like-minded women like you, and that just escalates to a whole different level. I see all the connections that are being made. These girls are friends now. These are like family with each other. I've found women in this group that are like my family. They're my friends that I look to do things together with them, where we have connections now because of the bold ladies. So really, that's the best advice. You have to get out there, find what you love, what you're passionate about, and find a group on Facebook, because it's awesome.
I think Facebook is like the easiest way that you can find a lot of these events, and I know everyone's so welcoming. I know especially like people for who are shy. Like I'm not necessarily shy, but sometimes when it's a group of people I do
Yeah.
not know whatsoever, it you can get shy. It's just how
Yeah.
life is. But there's it's so welcoming when you go to those events and you just go there with the idea that you just want to connect with people, and people pick up on that and they'll come up and they'll approach you and they'll say, "Hey, how are you? Like, what's up?" And it's so cool when you have those people in those meetings that just want to make
Oh,
friends as well and make connections,
I
which is
love
super
it.
helpful.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember you for showing up, and it's just like you said, it is welcoming. It's part of the culture. I think that if you're
Hmm.
shy, painfully shy, you're gonna find a friend in there somehow. You're
Right.
leaving with a new friend.
Yeah, I it's just you really have to put yourself out there and it'll come and it'll come. No worries. Well, Anna, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a few minutes of your time. I really appreciate it. And I loved you sharing your story and all the ways that you help women because I've seen the impact you have on women and it's definitely undeniable. So thank you again for the time. I'm really honored.
And thank you for having me. I am honored to be here. I hope you have a great day, and I hope that I was able to help one person at least get out there and make something of what's going on in Flagler, which I love Flagler County.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.